Hello, and welcome to the show, everybody. This is another edition of College Football Showdown. I'm your host, Israel Rivera, and there is my main man, Christian Simpson. What's going on, my man?
Man, I can't believe it's week 5 of college football. Now everything's really about to start tightening up a little bit. Got through the first 4 weeks. Now we're about to go through another half of college football.
Man, oh no, I can't believe how fast it's definitely gone. It's like a blur. Even in the NFL, it's like week 4 already too.
We're already at week 4 in the NFL, right?
This season is going by way too fast, guys. Way too fast, and
It
and and,
really
and the
is.
betting on the games is making it go too fast here.
Exactly. Exactly.
Anyways, everybody, man, go ahead and please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Go ahead and like our Prime Sports World Facebook page, YouTube page, Twitch page, and go ahead and go ahead and join our NFL Supreme and NBA Supreme Facebook pages. And I have just dropped the link down to this podcast. So if anybody wants to join and talk some college football, talk about your teams, go right ahead and jump into the Lions Den with me and Christian. Anyways, oh man, Christian, last week I told you what I was gonna do when I came on the show.
You did. You did. I'm
about to take it apart. I'm about to disassemble it real quick. I'm about to You know what? I should take a break. Let me take a breather real quick.
Take a breather, man. Take a breather.
Let me take a breather real quick because they're going through some things down there. So I don't want to really go in all the way in.
But I know where you're going. I know where you're going because I want to go there too.
This damn football team in the Miami Hurricanes, y'all do not deserve to be ranked in the top 25 ever again.
Did you hear what I said? Did you hear what I said on Monday Evening Quarterback when I talked about them? I said, hey, Miami, what the hell's going on? Like, what's really going on? Really?
Man, I'm telling you. No, Miami is really a disappointment. I mean, and you know what? I'll say this. Christian, TJ brought up a good point to me the other day. He said, man, you know what? Mario Cristobal hasn't really gotten his recruits in. This is the old recruiting class. Let him get his recruits in. Give him a break. Yada, yada, yada. I'm like, cool, fine. Let's keep it calm, cool, and copacetic. I'm gonna do that. I'll make sure, he got his, you dig in. But, man, how you lose to Middle Tennessee State? This team just lost to UTSA. And UTSA is no slouch.
No, they're not.
UTSA is no slouch. But UTSA... Oh no, they're still playing. They're losing by 8, but UTSA has had control of this game pretty much.
Exactly.
So there's 10 minutes left. UTSA is up 8. Middle Tennessee State's a good, is a competitive ball club. It's a competitive team. Especially the conference they play in. I believe they're playing in the what is this the Conference USA? Is this the Sun Belt?
I think it's the Conference USA they play in.
This got to be the Conference USA.
Yeah, I think that's the CUSA. I think that's the CUSA. I mean,
when I look at Miami, you literally it was a back and forth affair in the fourth quarter in which Miami gets stopped at the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
Middle Tennessee State throws a 99-yard touchdown pass.
Mm-hmm.
And then Miami gets the ball and returns it for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Miami gets a stop or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I forgot what happened. It was a blur after that. All I know is Middle Tennessee State was moving the ball up and down the field on Miami. Y'all need to have several seats. There is no way that Middle Tennessee State should even be competing with y'all.
Nah, there's no way. Because in situations like that, when an opponent like that comes to town, they're going to be playing for more than you as the bigger name because they really don't have anything to win, lose, or gain. They're unranked. They're not D1. And when you get the chance to play a D1 team or you're a D1 team and you play a Miami or a big name school, you're going to get everything from them. So it's just, man, this is why I always tell you, Izzy, You gotta expect the unexpected in this sport because anybody can win on any given Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
No, this is a team. This is a team that lost early and no disrespect to James Madison because James Madison is a good football program. No disrespect to James Madison. They're a good football program. They literally just beat Appalachian State 33-28 last week or something like that. Yeah, 33-28 last week. But they're a what are they? They're a conference. They're a come on, baby, come on. Anyways, they're a Sun Belt team right now. So you lost to James Madison. That's no slouch of a team, but still, you lost to them 44-7, and then they beat
Right.
on that. Sorry about that, guys. I'm having some technical.
He's having some technical difficulties, guys, but until he comes back, I'll hold down the fort. He was talking about Miami, Middle Tennessee, State University, MTSU, as they're known in the college football world. And yeah, Miami, you know, when they're good, oh, excuse me. When Miami's good, look, Izzy, I was just taking over for you. When
Yeah, no, you're taking over from me.
nah, man,
no,
nah, man, it's all good. But yeah, the
you
host
good.
is back. The host
Yeah,
is back. I
go
was
ahead.
just
No, but
nah, man. I was just
When Miami's good, they should be good. And I just had people calling me here. I'm like, I'm doing this on my phone. I use the camera on my phone. I'm like, people are calling me. I'm like, hold on, I gotta tell people I'm on a show, baby. The show must go on.
The show must go on.
Slow it down, baby.
Let's slow it
You
down.
gotta
Slow it down.
Anyways, takeaways from week 4. What a hell of a week, right? I got 2 out of 5 upsets right last week.
You did. I gotta give you.
Oklahoma.
You got K-State over Oklahoma, and I told you coming into that game, Kansas State always presents a challenge to Oklahoma. I don't know what it is, but they just always find a way to play Oklahoma tough. And usually it's in Manhattan, but they went into Norman and they just punched Oklahoma in the mouth. I think Oklahoma reverted to the Sooners of old and not the new Sooners that we've seen this year.
Well, K-State always plays Oklahoma really tough. And this past year was no different. Adrian Martinez plays Oklahoma tough. He had a hell of a game the year before with Nebraska. And in this game, he was flawless. He had 21 carries, 148 yards for a touchdown?
Four
touchdowns. And then he had 234 in the year for a tutty. He had 5 total touchdowns over, close to almost 400 yards total all-purpose yards. I mean, Adrian Martinez was killing him. And he made some, plays down the stretch where I was like, oh yeah, he could be a Heisman candidate.
Oh yeah.
And so now he's got K-State as a top 25 team right now. And honestly, like I'll be the first one to say, man, Oklahoma reverted back, like you said, to the Oklahoma old.
They did.
Defense.
Couldn't get off the field. Offense couldn't get anything going. But they're going to learn from this. This is a different Oklahoma team, as I've been saying. They're more balanced. They're leaning on running the ball, and they have one of the best underappreciated wide receivers that you really don't hear much about. He goes by the name of Marvin Mims.
Ooh. Marvin Mims. He had 4 catches, 87 yards, and a tutty last week.
That's a bad boy. I'm trying to tell you. That's a bad dude.
That is a bad dude. And then A&M over Arkansas. Honestly, is that really? It was an upset because of the ranking, but really, I think A&M was the more complete team.
Yeah, they were. But to be honest with you, I'm still concerned about their offense moving forward because there's no Anaya Smith, and he's the guy that really stirs the drink for this entire Aggies offense. And I'm just kind of surprised that the offense is sputtering under Jimbo Fisher. He's one of the best offensive-minded guys in the country, Izzy. And I don't know if Max Johnson is the answer either. I don't know if Haynes King. He's definitely not the answer. But I think this is what's going to keep Texas A&M from getting to where a lot of people feel they should be. They have everything there. They can run the ball. They have a stingy defense. They have great offensive line play. They have great defense. The defense plays well, but it's the quarterback. That's the only question mark with this team. They almost kind of remind me of Michigan a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the quarterback, man. I mean, they definitely need to, sew that up. And if they're going to be a good program, I mean, they're going to play good defense. They're going to run the football. They're going to have some nitty gritty wins. They're going to impose their will. Let's see what they do, this week. As they got another ranked opponent coming in, going up against
Mississippi State.
Yeah, Mississippi State. Oh no, the Mississippi State's not ranked. But Mississippi State is definitely a good team. That's
trap
a good
game.
Trap
game.
Yeah,
trap
exactly.
game.
That's definitely a good team right there. So you got some problems there. Texas A&M. At the quarterback position, but I think they'll be fine. I think and when I look at the other two upsets that I almost called, man, Northern Illinois took it to Kentucky, man.
They did. They definitely did. They definitely did, but in the end, it was just a little too much Kentucky when it mattered most. But give Northern a ton of credit because they didn't just back down. They didn't.
No, they didn't. And when Will Levis threw for 4 touchdowns, and it kind of got a little spicy there at the end. NIU almost got the onside kick, and if they would have got that, I think they had enough momentum to score on Kentucky. And this is the reason why Ole Miss is probably favored this week against Kentucky. Kentucky's like a plus 200 something, whatever, this week. And so I think Kentucky, is going into Ole Miss in the hostile environment. But I think Will Levis throwing for 4 touchdowns. I think that offense kind of got back on track a little bit. I think Will Levis got some momentum. He did get sacked a lot. He was getting hit, man. They were bringing pressure that first half, in the game. So, but they were able to still pull it off and beat Northern Illinois. And then let's talk about the main game. Clemson, Wake Forest.
Yeah, that was a wild game because as great as Clemson's defense is, they can be had, especially on the back end in that second. But that's Sam Hartman, and Sam Hartman is probably the best quarterback in the ACC and one of the best quarterbacks in the country. But I gotta give props when and where it's due, Izzy, because DJU, he played well. Did you see those touchdown passes he threw in overtime?
Yeah.
Third and six on the dime, putting that ball where he wanted. And look, I know I've been highly critical of DJ the last couple of the last year or so. My thing with him is when his team needed him to deliver and make a throw or make a clutch play, he did it. That's the best I think I've ever seen him look as a starting quarterback in college.
Yeah, no, I honestly, man, I think DJ Uiagalelei, he has turned his college career around this year.
I think so too.
A better passer. He's better in the pocket. We always knew he was, a big guy that can run the football in RPO situations, and that's what makes him even more dangerous. But he has, 1,033 yards, 10 touchdowns to only 1 interception. He's tied 14th in the nation out of all the FBS quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
He's turned his college career around.
He has.
And so, he's the guy that's rising up on draft boards. Because he has the size, he has the arm strength, he can make any throw. My thing about DJ was, he just the touches on his throws, right? He just needs a little bit more touches. Everything doesn't have to be so, like a bullet pass.
Right.
Sometimes you need some touch on your passes, and that's the one thing that he's starting to learn. That he doesn't have to always throw like those, bullet passes, or you got to put some touch on the back shoulder throws. And then Sam Hartman on the other side of me, 6 touchdown passes. I mean, what can I say about this kid, man? He's amazing, man. I mean, he's a guy that should be. I mean, he's undersized at 6'1", kind of like Drew Brees-ish.
That's who I was just gonna say. That's who he reminds me of. Like, I've seen people say that Bryce Young has a little bit of Drew Brees in him. I don't see it. He has a little more of Russell,
Wilson.
last name Wilson.
And I was wondering.
There you go. There you
If I
go.
can
Take you out.
show you a good
That's
time.
right. Let him know, Izzy. Nah, but Sam Hartman has such command and control of the offense. You see what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't really have a go-to guy. If you think about it, if you're open, you're getting the ball. And that's what I saw a lot from Drew Brees during his Saints days. You can say Marcus Colston was his go-to guy, or Devery Henderson, Lance Moore, Jimmy Graham. Nah, if you were open, you were getting the football.
Yeah, no, and then on the short end side, I mean, just to kind of briefly go over it, USC. I know it was a late game last week, but going into Corvallis, getting that win in a hostile environment against Oregon State, where Oregon State played them tough all the way to the very last drive.
That was my upset. Remember, that was
Yeah,
my
that was.
upset pick. That was my
Yeah, no.
upset pick. Almost thought it happened, but I mean, look, Jordan Addison called game. Well, what else can we say? He called game.
He's a man amongst boys. I mean, Travis Dye is one of the most underrated running backs in college football, man. I mean,
love him.
He's a hard north-south runner, man.
Yeah, you don't see him like that anymore. All these running backs nowadays want to bounce outside and be cute, but not Travis Dye. He likes running in between those tackles and initiating contact.
But let me give Oregon State some love here. I mean, now hold on. Let me just finish up on this one. Caleb Williams, albeit he only 16 to 36, 180 yards, a touchdown, didn't particularly have a great game, in his sense. But I like the fact that he wasn't having a great game, but that last drive, he made some NFL type of throws with that.
I agree.
Popped out of my head. I was like, this kid has the most potential out of all the quarterbacks. That he has more potential than CJ Stroud, more potential than Bryce Young, more potential than all of them. Because in the face of adversity, I don't think any of those guys. Oh, Bryce Young showed it against Texas. When in the face of adversity in a hostile environment, and when you're having a bad game, if you can show that you can put together one drive and put your team on your back and win the game and make some throws, I mean that's an A+ quarterback for me. I mean,
I agree.
It's not going to be all peaches in the NFL at the next level.
No, it's not, because the guys are a lot bigger, they're a lot stronger, they're a lot faster, and they're more physical than what you're seeing now. So you got to prepare yourself in some capacity.
And then on the other side, for Oregon State, they got two running backs, Jam Griffin,
right?
Who's your guy? Who's like, he's a big guy, right? That's Deshaun Fenwick's the big guy, 6'2", 236.
Right.
Jam Griffin's like the balanced running back. Man, I mean, these dudes, man, these two dudes, Deshaun Fenwick and Jam Griffin on Oregon State, can run the hell out of the football. I mean, these dudes, man. Every time Oregon State drops back into like any play, it all looks like the way they block looks like a run play. The way they pass block looks like a run play. Everything looks like a damn run play. It kind of gets you off balance a little bit when you play Oregon State. That's why I got them, going up into Utah and playing them tough. But Chance Nolan, man, I mean, shout out to USC's defense. Chance Nolan threw 4 picks, man. He did not particularly play well. They threw him into some bad throws. And I'm gonna shout out one guy here.
Okay.
For USC, and this kid, defensive tackle Stanley Taufu. That boy is nice. That's all I gotta say. He really nice. 6'2", 270, junior. I mean. This kid, he's gonna be a guy that's gonna be. I was last week. I was like, man, 47. Because I mean, he was making plays. And I was like he was like getting past the lineman and super quick first step, everything like that. And they have a kid. I'm gonna say this right now. USC has a kid. That's what 6'6", 200. Eric Gentry.
Yep.
6'6", 200. This kid is a middle linebacker. He looks like a freaking shooting guard out there. And he's so long. He's like Gumby. And he's the guy that actually tipped the last pass for the interception to kind of seal the game in that game. So this kid Eric Gentry, I've never seen anything like it. A 6'6", 200-pound middle linebacker, tall, lanky like that. He looked like he should be playing wide receiver. He's playing middle linebacker. So USC's got a really odd. They got a really. Their defense is just
long.
I don't know.
They have a lot of right.
Yeah.
But we've seen a middle linebacker like that, tall and lanky. Look at Tremaine Edmonds
No, that's true.
the Buffalo Bills. He's 6'5".
But I haven't seen a guy with those long arms like that. He got a 7'3" wingspan.
That's how much How much do you want to bet when he goes to the next level? They're gonna try and transition him to safety.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my. Oh.
Yeah. If you would transition a 6'6" guy to safety, oh my goodness, man. Because he's literally tipping everything that's past him. But anyways, man, that's a wrap on week number 4 right there, man. We're gonna close the chapter on that book.
Okay.
And move on to week number 5 because we got a lot to talk about. Especially these top 25 polls. I'll go over them. And top 5 still there. Georgia, Bama, Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson, all in that order. I have no problem with that. I don't have a problem with USC jumping up in front of Kentucky. I think Kentucky went down a little bit. Oh, no. Who went down? No, it was Oklahoma lost. So they dropped out of the top 10.
They dropped out of the top 25. They dropped out of the top 10. Out of the top 10.
And went all the way down to number 18. And USC jumped in front of them. And I said it last week, if Clemson doesn't win against Wake Forest, not win against Wake Forest, but if Clemson doesn't, look impressive against Wake Forest or whatever the case is, it kind of what I mean to say is that last week basically kept Clemson's, spot, basically. And this week they played NC State. They beat NC State. They got another week. But USC's coming to take them over. That's all I got to say.
I agree. I've been so impressed with USC. They haven't been relevant like this in quite some time. Coaching really does make a difference, and that team has really bought into what it is that Lincoln Riley is selling to them. What do I always say about new head coaches and teams? They're almost like salesmen. So they have to pitch their idea and what they're trying to sell to the players, and then it's the players' responsibility to buy into them.
Absolutely. And then at the USC, we got number 7 Kentucky. I think they stayed the same, if I'm not mistaken. But Kentucky, we just mentioned it. They had a tough game against Northern Illinois.
They did.
A lot of people didn't think that they were impressive. They actually went up a slot in the rankings. And then at number 8, we got Tennessee beating Florida. It was a close game at the end, but they were able to get off the schneid and actually finally beat Florida. In the last, I don't know, they lost 16 out of 17 before this meeting, whatever the case is. Hendon Hooker looked great. Number 9, Oklahoma State. Number 10, NC State moving up in the rankings, baby. Shout out to NC State.
Yeah, gotta get, yeah, definitely. And I just want to touch on Tennessee a little bit. That was my first time getting the chance to watch Hendon Hooker play. He reminds me so much of Randall Cunningham. It's not funny. It's the ability for him to scramble and make things happen with his feet, but he does not mind flicking the ball down the field from that pocket.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker is definitely a Heisman candidate.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely a special player.
I agree.
Number 11, we got Penn State. Number 12, Utah. Number 13, Oregon. Man, Bo Nix, man, playing some great football for Oregon.
Yeah, he's finally turned the light switch on, and when he's on. I think he just seems to be a little bit more loose now than he was at Auburn. That wasn't his style of football. He's a guy that likes to extend plays, make throws on the run. He's mobile with his feet, and, he can flick it down the field as well. He's another guy with great command and control of his offense.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a guy that's benefiting off the widespread style of Oregon, and then all those, West Coast athletes that Oregon has, man. I mean, Oregon gets, they're nationally ranked program. They get kids from all over, but he's really benefiting off of that widespread offense attack that the Oregon Ducks run, man. And then at number 14, we got Ole Miss. Ole Miss moving up in the rankings, huh? A little bit, after their win last week. And then we got number 15, Washington. Man, Michael Penix looking.
He's playing. Look, he's playing some great ball too. Yeah, he's giving his Huskies offense a spark.
Yeah, Michael Penix is dang near a borderline Heisman candidate this year, throwing for over 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns so far this year. So Michael Penix is a guy, man. I mean, he's on my Heisman radar so far. And then at number 16, we got the Baylor Bears. Number 17, Texas A&M. Number 18, Oklahoma. They dropped out of the top 10. They dropped 12 slots, losing last week to K-State. And then at number 19, BYU stands pat. Then Arkansas drops all the way down to top 20. They drop out of the top 10. They drop 10 spots with their loss last week to Texas A&M. And then number 21, Minnesota, man. Shout out to Minnesota jumping into the top 25. They weren't ranked last week. They got a big win. They just kind of been blowing teams out. Big win. They beat a former top 15 team in Michigan State 34-7. They've been blowing teams out all year this year. I mean, the first 3 games, whatever. New Mexico State, Western Illinois, and Colorado blew them out. But beating Michigan State by that much, that was impressive.
I'll say this. PJ Fleck is going to have his guys ready to play.
Yeah, no, he definitely is going to have his guys ready to play. And they got a running back, man. Mo Ibrahim.
Mo Ibrahim. He is the real deal. You talk about a guy that runs with that low center of gravity, the guy who doesn't really shy away from contact. I mean, he's the jack of all trades, and he's underappreciated, I feel, because look, you hear about Bijan Robinson, who's another running back that you hear about in the country. You hear about Blake Corum, you hear about Donovan Edwards, what those two are doing in Ann Arbor. I think Mo is just as good as those 3 we just listed.
Yeah, Travion Henderson.
Travion Henderson. Right.
Who's the other kid from Syracuse that's really good too?
And I can't forget my man from Wisconsin, Braylon Allen.
Oh, Braylon Allen. Oh yeah. Oh, bro, there's a plethora of running backs, man, out here, man. I mean, but yeah, he's definitely one of those guys, man. Mo Ibrahim, man, he's one of the guys, man, that can really, 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 get it. And I'm talking about Sean Tucker from Syracuse, man. Kid, that kid's another one that's one of the best, better running backs in the nation as well. And then rounding out my top 25, we got Wake Forest at 22. They dropped the ranking, losing to Clemson. I love the fact that they didn't drop them all the way out the top 25 because that's the top 25 team. Wake Forest is.
I agree.
So I just they dropped them down 1. You know what I mean? I think Wake Forest is definitely a top 25 team. They gave Clemson all they can handle. At number 23, we got Florida State. They weren't ranked. They finally jumped into the top 25.
They did.
Finally getting it done, man. Finally, putting Florida back on the map there, right? Because there's no Florida teams here. They're the only Florida team that's in the top 25.
One thing I want to say about Florida State, I think this is the most talented team that Mike Norvell has had since he took over the job in Tallahassee. They set Willie Taggart up for failure. They didn't let him recruit or anything like that. And for a minute, I thought a legendary Hall of Fame name was going to go back and coach his alma mater. I think you know who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I know.
But I don't think that's happening. He's way too comfortable at Jackson State.
Look, let me tell you something. That's great that you brought that up. Because I've been screaming for this for like the last 2 seasons.
You have.
I was like, when Prime got to Florida State or Jackson State, and he brought his son, not only his son, but like, some other really good recruits to Jackson State. And then when he was able to get the number 1 recruit last year,
Travis Hunter.
Yeah, Travis Hunter to come in. He's got some 4 stars there. Jackson State, he's done an excellent job at Jackson State. And it's not like Prime don't know his X's and O's. I mean, he's a good coach too. And he really is a great teacher. And so when I look at Prime, I'm like, man, Florida State, like, dropped the ball because I remember Prime wanted to go back and be a coach. And they were like, we don't know. You ain't really – but, like, my man's is a genius there at Jackson State. He's literally an innovator right now. I mean, kids are going to HBCUs, bringing it back. Because, back in the day, HBCUs used to have some really great talent back in the 60s, and 70s and stuff.
Like, yeah. So, and I mean, man, when I think of Florida State, I think of that 2013 team. Izzy, that's one of the best teams I've ever seen because
Yeah.
they were on page with one another every single week that year. That's a young Jameis Winston. Just the way they ran the ball, the way they played defense. I mean, there wasn't a flaw with that
Oh no,
team.
Travis Benjamin. You had Benjamin on there, not
Yeah,
Travis Benjamin, but Calvin Benjamin. You had Cam. I think Cam Akers was on that
I
team.
think Cam was on that
Yeah,
team.
Cam was on that team. You had Dalvin Cook might have been on the team the year
Or him.
before that.
It was I think Dalvin was the year
The year
before, if
before
I'm
with
not
EJ
mistaken.
Manuel. But yeah, no, that team, and I think Broderick Bunkley might have been on the other
Yeah,
side of the defense.
yeah, man.
They
That
had
was
a
just
squad,
that
man.
that's a loaded team, man. I mean,
They had a squad
yeah,
2013. But yeah,
yeah, that
no,
was
I
a
mean
loaded
when I
team.
when I look at just to wrap that one up with Prime, like the next time Florida State even remotely wants to talk to Coach Prime about coming, I mean they better open up the bank, give him a blank check, and say what you want. That's what they should do because he will literally single handedly put Florida State back in the like he will make them a top 10 team once again.
Not only that, but I just see how he would get recruits to flock
Oh yeah,
to that
easily
school because I mean, look, he's a legendary name. What's he known as in the football community? Uncle Prime.
Uncle
He's an older
Prime.
guy. He's an OG, and when he talks, people listen. Like, look, I'm sure you've seen his locker rooms and how he conducts business. Look at how he has the attention of everybody
Mm-hmm.
on that team. Look, he didn't really see that leadership when he was a player, but he's really mature as a man beyond his playing days.
Absolutely, no, absolutely, man. I think, but Florida State's definitely on the right track here so far this year, starting off the season 4-0, and then rounding out the top 25, we got 24 Pittsburgh didn't move up, stayed standing pat, and then jumping into the top 25 was K State beating Oklahoma on the road there and becoming 3-1. Going into week 5. So shout out to K State jumping into the top 25, and the new teams jumping in the top 25. That's K State, Florida State, and Minnesota hopping into the top 25 club here. And then, man, big week, man. We got our feature games here.
Let's talk about
Man,
it.
my man. At number 7, man, number 7 Kentucky going into number 14 only. I can't believe Kentucky's not favored in this game. But you tell me why they're not favored in this game.
Well, Ole Miss is the more balanced team of the two. Like, look at everything they're doing. They're not the same offense that they were from last year, but they can still pass the ball up and down the field. Jackson Dart, I think the last name fits him perfectly because he throws darts down the field, pun intended, but they can run the ball, and defensively, they're pretty good. But Kentucky's about to get a boost because Chris Rodriguez is coming back, Izzy, and he's going to give their running game a spark that it needs because they're not that great right now when it comes to running the football. And I think a lot of pressure is going to be taken off of Will Levis. I think this is going to be a close game. I actually like Ole Miss in this one. I previewed this on the site on Tuesday. Look, Izzy, you knew it was coming.
Oh, shameless plug, baby. Shameless plug.
Shameless plug, baby. Yeah, I actually previewed this one on Tuesday. I like Ole Miss to win this game by a score of 32-27. I think it comes down to the fourth quarter.
And let me say this. I'll say this right now. Uh, Kentucky has a running back that has like one of the best names in college football, Cavassier Smoke. I
Look.
love that name. That's all I gotta say. I love that name, Cavassier Smoke. Man, what a hell of a name right there. But Will Levis, I mean, he threw 4 touchdown passes against Northern Illinois. Hopefully that gets him back on track. He had 6 touchdowns to 4 interceptions before he came into that game. So now he's at 10 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He's a top 5 candidate at quarterback in the next NFL in this coming NFL draft. And you're right, Chris Rodriguez is gonna bring a boost. I know they're underdog in this game, but I just think that with Will Levis, if they are able to limit the pressures that Ole Miss is going to bring on to him, and be able to protect Will Levis, I think Will
Mm-hmm.
Levis could get the ball to some of his speedy guys in the open field. That will make a difference here in this football game. And we know that their receiving corps is led by Tavion Robinson. But I
Yep.
mean, yeah, and he had some good plays last week. So I mean, this team has some guys that can get if they get in space, they can really get jiggy with it. So I'm gonna go with Kentucky to win this game by I don't even want to predict the score. I think it's gonna be probably a 3-6 ball win for
I can
Kentucky.
see it. I
In
can.
my opinion, I
Okay.
can see it
Okay.
on the road. Next game up, we got Oregon State going up against number 12 Utah. I put this as a future game just because I just think when I'm looking at all the other games, I could have picked Florida State versus what was it? I think Florida State's playing Wake Forest this week, if I'm not
Mm-hmm.
mistaken. I could
Mm-hmm.
have put that game as a feature game. I really don't. I think Florida State gets a loss in that game. I think they get their first loss. I really don't believe in that game as being a feature game. I think Oregon State versus number 12 Utah is going to be a really entertaining game early on in the slate. How do you see this one shaking out?
Man, I can't wait to see one of my favorite tandems in college football go at it. Featured in this game. That's quarterback Cameron Rising and Tavion Thomas, the running back for the
Mm-hmm.
Utah Utes. I think Oregon State's going to play them tough, but I'm going against you again, Izzy. I like Utah to win this game. I think if this game were in Corvallis, yeah, it would be more of a tougher test. But I just think Utah has such a strong home field advantage.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely in Salt Lake City. I mean, you know, I definitely got to catch a Utah Utes game when I go out there
You
again.
do.
But yeah, I definitely do. I did like literally. Like my girlfriend doesn't live too far away from the stadium. I've actually drove. Yeah, actually, it's funny because I drove past the stadium and I was like, this is not a Pac-12 stadium. And I got to remember that they used to be in the Mountain West before they went to the Pac-12, so it's still kind of like Mountain Westish. But anyways, I think Utah is a great team, awesome team. I just think Oregon State played really well last week against a top 10 opponent. I think they knew that game kind of slipped away. I think they're going to come in here with some momentum. I think that Chance Nolan's going to play a lot better. He's not going to throw 4 picks. Coming into last week, I mean, Chance Nolan only had 2 picks on the season. And he had 7 touchdowns. So he threw 4 picks against USC. I don't think there's the defense of Utah's, going to be able to get in his face like, Tuafu was able to and some of those other guys at USC. Give me Oregon State on the road to
Okay.
win
Okay.
this ball game. And
Okay.
that's actually
Okay.
one of my upsets of the week here
Yep.
is Oregon State beating number 12 Utah in Salt Lake City, beating them Salt Lake City Slickers down there in Utah. And then our next game, I got number 2 Alabama going up against number 20 Arkansas and playing baby Cam Newton, KJ Jefferson. How do you see
KJ
this one play?
Jefferson. Man, I'm still trying to get a feel for who this Alabama team is. Normally we know who they are after what, maybe 4 or 5 games or so. They're a team that's either they're gonna run the ball, they're a team that's either gonna have balance offensively, but then their receiving core isn't as strong as it's been in years past. You see what I'm saying, Izzy? And
Mm-hmm.
defensively, their front seven is great. I don't know if Arkansas is going to have an answer for trying to neutralize Will Anderson. I think he's just going to be too much in this game. I'm going to take the Crimson Tide here.
Yeah, I think my um prediction on Will Anderson breaking T Sizzle's sack record, that's not going to happen. I think that Will Anderson is going to get close to 20. He might get 16, 17. That's still a hell of a season.
Yeah, it
But he's at
is.
4.5 sacks right now. He could get 3 or 4 sacks in this game.
Yeah, he could
He
because I
could.
just I just don't see. I think it's key. Arkansas has to circle and know where he is at all times
At all times.
because if you don't, I could see Alabama almost using him like how the Cowboys used Micah Parsons on Monday night against the Giants. Either they had him on the edge or they had him in the middle, but it didn't matter where he was coming from. He was coming.
Yo, no, definitely. And I mean, Alabama has, Jalen Moody's leading them in tackles. Henry Toto, gosh, Lee, I can't even pronounce his
Yeah,
last
I
name.
know you're the
Henry
linebacker,
Toto,
Henry
Tutu, Tutu,
Toyo or something like
Tutu,
that.
Henry
Yeah.
Tutu. Man, he's gonna be a nice linebacker coming up here at the next level. And then Will Anderson's, God leave, 20 tackles, playing from that edge position. This team is not as talented in the back end. I do like Kool-Aid McKinstry a little bit. as their DB. He's another talented kid. But yeah, I do believe that KJ Jefferson is going to give them some problems. I told you guys, I tell everybody this all the time when I talk about KJ Jefferson in Arkansas. When he gets it in the red zone, you can't. I mean, last week they got a little fan. I don't know what the hell happened last week with that strip. I've never seen nothing like that. Where
Right.
KJ Jefferson's in the red zone is a fumble. They run and he's almost stopped in his tracks and he just pitches it over, laterals it, and Texas A&M goes like 90 yards down the field for a touchdown. And it's like in that situation, I forget like if they got a little too cute in that position, but it's like no, KJ Jefferson when he gets in the red zone, he's scoring a touchdown.
Definitely.
Like he scores a touchdown. Like he is money down there in the red zone. That's why I like to call him Baby Cam Newton because Cam Newton. Remember when Cam Newton was in his prime? He get in the red zone. I mean. You can chop that up. You ain't kicking.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was coming. You
you
knew
know
it
it's
was
coming.
coming. Exactly.
He gonna run it, or he's gonna do it. He gonna hold it. Fast enough to get it to one of his guys in the back of the end zone. But mostly he gonna run it.
Exactly.
Touchdown. So my man, I think in this game I don't have Arkansas beating Alabama, but I do have them making it, keeping it close though.
So you have them making it interesting.
I have them making it interesting just because of the fact I don't think anybody at Alabama except Will Anderson, he plays more on the edge. I don't think anybody in the middle can handle KJ Jefferson.
I don't think they can either, to be honest with you. And that's always been a strength of Alabama defenses. Has always been their defensive interior, and it just seems like teams are running through them a little. Look at what Texas did a couple of weeks ago. Until Quinn Ewers got hurt.
No, and it's not like KJ Jefferson can't, pass the football either. I mean, he's improved as a passer, from year one to now. But him as a runner, I mean, last week he had 105 yards on 18 carries and a touchdown. He's had a touchdown in every single game this season on the ground. So KJ Jefferson is a guy that you got to watch out for when it comes down to him running the ball and keeping it on the ground. And then the next game, we got number 9 Oklahoma State going up against number 16 Baylor going into the Baylor Bears house. How do you see this one shaking here?
Rematch of the Big 12 championship game from last year. This was a game where Baylor had to grind it out. Oklahoma State's going to come in with a chip on their shoulder because they lost twice to Baylor last year. But look, I just think Baylor has too much for this Cowboys team. I like the Baylor Bears at home. Yeah. Dave Aranda's going to have his men ready to play. I think we're going to get a big game from Blake Shapen.
Yeah, no, I think we're going to get a big game from Blake Shapen as well. I do think Oklahoma State has the makings. I love Spencer Sanders. They have the makings to win this ball game on the road against Baylor. I'm actually going to go with Oklahoma State getting the W. They lost twice last year. I think they have that chip on their shoulder. They keep their momentum so far going this year. Spencer Sanders playing amazing, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception, 916 yards in the air. And he's clearly the senior leader of this ball club. Watch out for the wide receiver Braden Johnson here from Oklahoma State, man. Kid's super talented, one of the best wide receivers in the Big 12. He can give Baylor some problems this year. He's a senior leader as well. So I got Oklahoma State actually winning on the road against number
15. Oh, you trying to make things interesting.
Oh yeah, I'm making things interesting. You got Baylor at Oklahoma State.
Yes, sir.
When we come back next week, who has that one?
Exactly.
And then rounding up our feature games, I got number 10 NC State going into number 5 Clemson. And I know this is Christian shameless plug pretty much of the week here in college football.
It is.
So he probably ain't gonna come out with his prediction here, but you can give us a little analysis of how you think it might shake out.
Well, man, let's be honest here. North Carolina State should have a loss under their belt because they should have lost to East Carolina earlier in the year. But since then, they've steamrolled people, and this is going to be my first time looking at their quarterback. What's that guy's name? Devin Leary.
Dennis Leary.
Devin Leary. This is going to be my first time watching him. Look, he hasn't been great, but he hasn't been good or bad. He's just been serviceable at best. You know, he has really reliable weapons on the outside. And if you're North Carolina State, you're taking a page out of Wake Forest's book. You're attacking that Clemson secondary because there's a lot of youth and there's a lot of inexperience. And like I said at the top of the show, they can be had. Clemson, how does DJ build off that performance on tomorrow night from last week? You see what I'm saying? Like, how is he gonna pick up where he left off? But the guy I'm watching, no relation. I'm watching Trenton Simpson. I can't wait to
He
see
said
this
no
kid.
relation.
Look, no relation. But this kid plays linebacker like he's a safety. He's almost like a Keanu Neal of some sorts. Because every time you see him, he's always around the ball. He's that magnetic force that we always talk about. But this is going to be a good game. I know the weather and the elements are going to be a factor, so I think it's going to come down to who can consistently pound the rock and run the football.
Yeah. So a couple key facts here in this game. Clemson has a 36-game home win streak right now.
That's crazy.
Dating back to November 2016. That's the Deshaun Watson and that's the Taj Boyd days, damn near. I think no, is that Deshaun Watson or Taj Boyd? I think that might be Taj Boyd.
Might be Taj. It might be Taj. Because I don't really remember Clemson losing under Deshaun at home. They were pretty dominant.
They were dominant with Deshaun Watson, man. So yeah, I think that has to go back to the Deshaun, the Taj. I think that definitely is the Taj Boyd days. 2016 is definitely the Taj Boyd days. And they can tie Florida State's ACC mark of 37 straight if they beat the Wolfpack this year. So Clemson on a bit of on the horizon of some ACC history here in this game. Also, it's been so long. That NC State has beaten Clemson at Clemson since the Phillip Rivers days.
Wow, you just really took it back.
2002 was the last time NC State beat Clemson in Clemson. And last year, obviously, NC State
beat Clemson.
Their losing streak against Clemson last year by beating Clemson at home. But this is a different animal going into Death Valley.
Yeah, it really is. It really is because this Clemson defense, they're gonna have to get home to Leary, and I think they can, Izzy. But watch for this North Carolina State defense. Drake Thomas, look out for that name tomorrow. You know my rule. You better have game. If you
got two first names,
it's only right. Look, it's taking after me. He's been around. Look, he's been around me too long, but that's my brother. So you know what? It just runs in the family, don't it? It just runs in the family.
Oh man, absolutely, dude. I love it, man. And I mean, obviously, we already know Clemson's defense is one of the best in the nation. Led by Brian Breesy. So watch out, and also Murphy and those boys, Tyler Venables.
Yeah.
Watch out for we don't have to watch out for anything on Clemson. We just know they're gonna bring it. They gave up a lot of yards and a lot of points to Wake Forest. Wake Forest is one of the best offensive teams in the nation. We just mentioned a guy that's mentioned amongst one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and we regard Sam Hartman as one of the as like a Drew Brees type of talent.
Yeah,
and it's crazy that he's not going to be picked in like probably the first round, but he should be one of the top quarterbacks picked in the first 2 or 3 rounds in the NFL draft next year.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go with Clemson to win this game again.
I'll make sure.
I'll
make sure you see the preview. I'll make sure you see the preview, of course.
I can't wait to see the preview. I'll see it on College Football Battlegrounds.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to my main man, Coach Rocco.
I love that guy, man. That guy. Yo, I talk to that guy all the time. Izzy, let me ask you, what was it like playing for Coach Rock?
What was it like playing for Coach Rock? Man, Coach Rock was the shit, man. Sorry for my language. Excuse me for my language. Well, man, Coach Rock, man, he was a real fun. Rock was a guy, man. If you can hit, he gonna put you on that defense.
Absolutely, I believe it. I believe it.
Rock was a defensive coordinator when I was playing. He was a DC. He didn't touch offense. He was a DC. And I'll tell you something about Rock. I'll tell you something, man. Like our teams, I would say this: our teams our front sevens, because
Mm-hmm.
I was a starting DT all 3 years when I was at Prospect. Our
Right.
front sevens, man, we could really stop the hell out of the run. It was when they came when it came down to throwing the football. Is that we always had like inexperienced DBs, that really didn't know how to. And we were playing against like Charles Brown and Brandon Green from Robeson.
Yeah, yeah,
Those are two
yeah.
dudes that went to Northwestern and Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? So we had guys that was just barely playing football in the defensive backfield. But no, Rock's a good guy, man. Rock's a cool dude, man.
Yeah,
Hell of a guy to
man.
play for, bro.
I love that guy, man. I call him
Real
Uncle Coach.
smart,
I call him Uncle Coach, man.
Uncle
He's
Coach.
kind of like adopted me, and we
Oh
talk
yeah,
all the time. He's always checking out everything I post, and I'm just grateful, for his friendship and his mentorship.
oh yeah. No, Rock was a good guy, man.
Yeah,
He used
man,
to
and
play that. He's a big Alabama fan, so
yep,
a lot of his defenses had Bama, or they had some he had some some Alabama kind of ties, Tide or Crimson or some shit like that, whatever. I can't remember some of his calls, but he used to always refer him back to like Bear Bryant, Bear, we're in Bear, or
yep,
something like that.
yep. I believe it.
So yeah, but anyways, man. Yeah, no, I think Clemson wins this ball game. I think DJ Uiagalelei has another great game. He's thrown for more touchdowns so far this season than he did all of last season. I think Will Shipley's a underrated running back. I mean, he's not. Will Shipley's a guy that he's a second string, third string type of running back at the next level. But in college football, he's just right. And I think they play enough defense to slow down Devin Leary and that attack. Give me Clemson at home against NC State. And then I got moving over to my upset picks. I already talked about Oregon State and Utah. My next upset pick, I got Purdue beating number 21 Minnesota this week. I'm gonna tell you why, man. One thing is, I know Minnesota's been blowing teams out, but the first 3 games they played cupcakes, and they had some momentum against Michigan State. Tanner Morgan's been playing great. PJ Flex got this team playing well. All that good stuff. But when I tell you, Purdue's got a tandem in Aiden O'Connell, 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, 1 reception, and he's got his best friend, his brother, on the other side of him. On the other side of him is his best friend, Mr. Jones back there, Charlie Jones at wide receiver out of Deerfield, Illinois. This kid's got 533 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns so far. On the year. Yeah, 7 touchdowns so far on the year. So this kid this guy is actually a solid wide receiver threat. And I believe he transferred. Where did this kid transfer from? Because he's a transfer, I think, from where did this kid transfer from? From Iowa. Okay, yeah. So he's played. This is his third team. This is his third team in almost 3 or 4 years, because he started out at Buffalo, then he transferred to Iowa. Sat out COVID, transferred to Iowa. And then after the season last year, he transferred to Purdue for his senior season. So this is a kid on his third team in 4 years or whatever the case.
Right.
He's caught it. And I think, him and Aiden O'Connell, best friends, best buddies. They've been best buddies since they was kids. I think they are a tandem that Minnesota cannot stop this week. And I think that Purdue actually ends up beating Minnesota. And Purdue almost went into the Carrier Dome a couple weeks ago and beat Syracuse.
Yeah, they did. They always seem to give teams problems. I remember Ohio State going up there to West Lafayette in 2018 and not just beating Ohio State, but I'm talking about slapping them around and punching them in the mouth, just being a more physical team. And Ohio State was never able to regroup. Jeff Brom always has these guys ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, in the 2 losses they have this year, one Syracuse in the Carrier Dome, they lost 32-29 on some crazy. They should have won the ball game. Literally, they scored a go-ahead touchdown. The tight end that caught the touchdown got an unsportsmanlike conduct, right? And then the special teams coach got an unsportsmanlike conduct. So then Purdue was kicking from like their own 20-yard line.
Yep.
So Syracuse got the ball at midfield. And then Syracuse got bailed out with like I think it was it might have been a defensive holding or a roughing the passer. They literally gave Syracuse the ball game in the Carrier Dome when they actually should have won that game
Yeah,
in
they
the
should
Carrier
have.
Dome. So they should be 3-1, and then they lost last week. They lost the first week of the season to Penn State only by 4 points. So total of only 7 points. They lost their 2 ball games, and so this is a very good Purdue team. I think they give Minnesota all that they can handle, and they end up beating Minnesota this week. And then my last upset pick, I got Mississippi. I say Mississippi. That's Ole Miss. Mississippi State beating number 17 Texas A&M. I gotta change that.
I'm actually with you because it's something about this game. This game we're in College Station. Yeah, I might lean toward the Aggies, but going to Mississippi State, that's a tough place to play. And yeah, I think they're gonna come away. I think Texas A&M, they're gonna overlook this team because of who's on the schedule the following week. Alabama.
Absolutely. And both teams 3-1. Will Rogers is a hell of a quarterback. I mean, he's got over 1,300. I mean, this is a pass-centric offense under Mike Leach. And so, I think 16 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Will Rogers is a guy. Will Rogers is a guy that you gotta definitely watch out for when it comes down to it for Mississippi State. And I just think, on the other side, I think, Texas A&M is gonna play great defense. But that high octane offense of Mississippi State is gonna prevail in this game. So give me Mississippi State for the W. This in this matchup, and that's an upset. And if you want to put them on the parlay this week, go ahead. I got 2 games. I mean, Oregon State, Kentucky. Both of those guys are underdogs, not major underdogs, but they're I think Kentucky's like a plus 210 or something like that. Oregon State plus 310 going up against Utah. I mean, that's going to be some competitive. That's going to be 2 competitive ball games. Along with this one, if you throw Mississippi State, I know it says Mississippi. Don't get it twisted. I think if you put all 3 of those guys in your part, those can be some upsets that can very for sure happen. And I think I'm gonna go 3. I think I'm gonna go 3 for 3 this week. Christian.
All right. What you think? Look, man. Look. You've been on a roll these last 2 weeks. Let's see if the third week is a charm, man.
absolutely. And then going into our last segment of the show, our Heisman Watch, as we always do, we close the show out with a Heisman Watch. At number 1, C.J. Stroud.
I agree.
On the Heisman rankings.
Yep. Yeah, I like that.
Yep. C.J. Stroud is still on the Heisman rankings there. He had a great game last week against Wisconsin. 17. He was 17. I'm looking at the stats right now on my phone because I got it all pulled up. 17 to 27, 281 yards, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, and he's the 13. He's got the most. He's top 20 in passing yards, over 1,200 passing yards. He's got the most. He's tied with first in the nation with the most passing touchdowns so far in the nation with 16. He's got 1 interception. This kid's been lights out. My next quarterback, Caleb Williams. I mean, last week he didn't have such a great game. He still hasn't thrown a pick, though. He hasn't thrown not 1 pick this season. He's got 9 touchdowns.
He's been locked in.
He hasn't made that bad mistake so far this year. He's one of the more accurate quarterbacks this year. He's thrown for a little over 1,000 yards this season. But, last week he showed me that, in the face of adversity, he can come down and get a tough drive and win the ball game in a hostile environment. So Caleb Williams stays at number 2. Number 3, I got Bryce Young, who had another excellent game as well. I know he had 1 bad game, and that was really against Texas. But, and when I look at C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young, which are arguably the 2, top quarterbacks that are being, touted in this next NFL draft, I just look at Bryce Young as being just a tad level below C.J. Stroud. What do you think?
Yeah, I could agree with that. I think C.J. is a little more explosive.
Yeah.
Bryce, I don't know if Bryce looked okay because of the receivers that he was throwing to last year. We're starting to kind of see who he really is as a quarterback, but I can't disagree with that.
No, and I mean, throwing the 2 interceptions against Louisiana Monroe wasn't a good look for him.
No, it wasn't.
But then he bounced back in a big way against Vanderbilt. I think that game was over with by like the first quarter.
Yeah.
It was a scrimmage. Like 40 points
it was a scrimmage. It was a scrimmage, man.
It was just number pitch and catch, 385 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. So yeah, he's number 3 on my Heisman rankings, and then number 4, Stetson Bennett drops a little bit. Um, my thing about Stetson Bennett is that his defense is so dominant, is that it overshines his play. He doesn't really have to play that much, like, because his defense is just so dang dominant. I'm surprised Kent State even scored 22 points on that defense.
Yeah, and everybody's saying online after that, is Georgia still the number 1 seed? Yes, they are. This team hasn't given up 20 points in a regular season in God knows how long. So, yes, they are. Every great defense has a slip up here and there.
Yeah, and he had, the one thing he didn't perform, how he's been performing. He had the yardage, 272 yards, but he threw no touchdowns, and he had 1 interception against Kent State. So Stetson Bennett, but he's clearly, man, he's perfect for that offense. He's a game manager, but he's also a guy that can make plays down the field with his arm and his legs. So Stetson Bennett is definitely a Heisman candidate with over 1,200 yards, 5 touchdowns, and an interception. And then rounding out my top 5, man, I told him I was going to give him some love this week. I don't know how long he's going to stay in the top 5 in the Heisman rankings, but Blake Corum from Michigan. This kid last week, man, he had one of the best games last week. I believe he had 243 rushing yards against Maryland.
On 30 carries.
On 30
carries.
For 2 touchdowns. The week before against UConn, he had 5 touchdowns. 5 touchdowns on 12 carries. Blake Corum's definitely a guy that's got to get my love and attention. He's averaging 7.5 yards per carry this year.
My thing about that, someone else on Michigan outside of him has to step up offensively.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to catch up to them moving forward, especially with conference play getting ready to begin. I mean, they have a tough game tomorrow against Iowa. I know Iowa, they struggle offensively, but you don't think Iowa's not going to come out and be motivated in this one?
And it's on the road in Iowa.
And on the road in Iowa City.
Yep, it's gonna be a tough place to play. And then my dark horse this week is gonna be Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. Like TJ said, man, this kid does remind me a little bit of Randall Cunningham.
Yeah.
Kind of, in a way, I want to say reminds me a little bit of. I'm gonna take it back to this old Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Used to play for the University of Georgia. Can you guess who he is?
I'm stumped.
Quincy Carter.
Wow, you just took it back there.
Yeah,
wow.
no. I mean, Quincy Carter wasn't all that great. He was a nice, serviceable quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely was, but I definitely see flashes of what's his name? I definitely see flashes of Randall Cunningham in this kid. Like, I'm amazed every time I watch him throw the ball.
Yeah, no, and no, Hendon Hooker's he's in that mold. He's in that mode of Quincy Carter, in my opinion, Randall Cunningham. So I got to give Hendon Hooker some love as my dark horse on a Heisman list. And I'm looking in. I got Will Anderson from Bama, but Bijan Robinson slips a little bit from Texas, and then I got Sam Hartman just popping up on the radar so far this year with that 6 touchdown performance against Clemson. He actually probably should be my dark horse, but Hendon Hooker with an impressive win, against Florida. They didn't beat Florida in like the last 8 years or so. So that was just an impressive win for Tennessee. And so I got to show him some love on my Heisman rankings. The reason why Bijan Robinson doesn't show me love, I mean, all the talent in the world, man, could be like the next Reggie Bush, Ricky Williams, whatever you want to say. But he's got 2 losses, against Alabama. I'm still looking for his Heisman moment.
Yeah. I think his Heisman moment probably would have came against Alabama, but they did such a good job of containing him and making sure he didn't beat them.
Yeah. And I would have thought last week in the overtime loss to Texas Tech, he would have took over that game, but he didn't. He only had 103 yards, albeit on 16 carries. They started to throw the ball a little bit more, 2 touchdowns. But I expect a little bit more out of a guy that's being touted as one of the as like a next Reggie Bush or something like that. He's actually slipped he's actually slipped in some of these rankings. I don't think when I'm looking at some of these experts rankings, he's not in the first round anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, and some of these rankings, he's not in the first round anymore. He slipped because he hasn't, he has all the talent in the world, but he hasn't really popped as like, he hasn't really popped this year so far. I'm looking for like, what Blake Corum did, 200
exactly
50 yards, 234 yards. I'm looking for that type of game from Bijan Robinson. I'm not sure I'm gonna get it, but they do play. They do play West Virginia tomorrow in Texas, 6:30 game tomorrow. So hopefully, he can pop that game open and take it over and jump up in the Heisman rankings here. But yeah, I'm still looking for Bijan Robinson.
I agree. Couldn't
Heisman.
agree any. I mean, I have no issues with this list, Izzy. I think it's pretty accurate. It's pretty spot on. But I have a feeling Caleb Williams has really climbed his way up the ladder on this list.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, man. But I think CJ Stroud, man, he's right now he's got it in the bag so far, man. He just keeps it going. I mean, the only bad game he's had this year was pretty much against Notre Dame. In my opinion, was the first game of the season. But that's the first game of the season against one of the better defenses in the nation, in my opinion. Even though they lost to Marshall and whatever the case is, but yeah, no, yeah, give me. Yeah. But yeah, no, I definitely like CJ, but Clay Williams is right on his heels, right there for that Heisman Trophy. If USC goes undefeated and gets into the CFP and maybe Ohio State loses or something, I could see Caleb Williams taking this for CJ Stroud. But we gotta see a little bit more out of Caleb Williams. He can't have like one of those pedestrian games he had against Oregon State and then kind of turn it on at the end. I'm
exactly.
Williams to kind of finish strong. Start strong and finish strong in these games at times. So, anyways, that's been a wrap, y'all. This is Israel Rivera, man. I'm your host, man. Go ahead, please share, share, and subscribe to this podcast. I think TJ and Huff coming, or David coming with another edition of the crossover tomorrow at 1, so don't miss that. Go ahead and I'm gonna shout you out, Christian. Go ahead and go read Christian's articles at the dailyblitz.blog. Y'all better go tune in because my man's dropping gems over there. And then Monday evening quarterback, my man is doing big things over there.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate that.
He is a regular on Prime Sports World, and he's also got his own thing going. So y'all better go like both of those, his podcast and his blog. And so, anyways, man. Like I said, man, go ahead and please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. On YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Go ahead and like our NBA Supreme, NBA NFL Supreme Facebook page. And man, another great week in the books, man. Week 5 is gonna be good. Everybody, go ahead and drink responsibly. And Christian, here at Prime Sports World, I'm about to slam the pen, son, because you know what's coming. We bring the heat.
We bring the heat. That's it.
Bring the heat 24/7 because we go live 7 days a week with the most consistent content on Facebook and social media. Period. And if I miss it,
exactly.
And if I miss you, good night, good evening, good morning,
good morning,
good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Peace out, man.